Okay, so let's discuss human body system interactions, or basically how our different systems work together. And we will look at the individual systems and, again, how they work together and a better understanding of homeostasis. Okay, so let's go to the next slide right here. Looking at the image, and I'm not asking you to write any of this down, we'll get that through our notes right now. You'll see that there are many different systems, and all the little pink arrows show how they work together with a different system. Specifically, look at this one right here. It's our circulatory system. So your heart, your arteries, veins, and blood. And it has an interaction with the skeletal system. Again, that's something that most people think about. So we'll look at that today along with many of the others. Yeah, when we look at this, we say that there are 12 main systems. Okay? Each one works independently of the other, but they do work together. So let's go ahead and write that down. Secondly, the loss of one system can impact all the others, not even the ones just specifically attached to it, but if one thing doesn't work properly, all the rest down the road don't work very well either. So if one doesn't work, we can even have a possibility of death. We do have the ability to do organ transplants, but not entire organ system transplants. And even then, organ transplants are very risky. Okay? So, each system works independently, but they work together as a whole for homeostasis, and the loss of one can greatly impact all the rest. So let's start off with a rather easy one. As you see on your chart, I've already given you this same image right here, and the major organs that are found in it, because this is what you guys basically should have learned in 7th grade, whether you remember or not. Okay, so digestion is all about the good, fun things in life, right? So, functions, again, to bring in food, what we call ingestion, to ingest our foods. Eating is what we like to call it. Our second, it's not just eating the food, but then we have to digest the food and absorb its nutrients. We break it down into smaller bits and pieces so that we can absorb it into our body, so we can use those nutrients to help us grow and function. Then, the most unpopular part of it all, when you're done eating all that food, some of it still comes out as, your feces. So we eliminate the indigestible food, or basically, again, the stuff that when our body's done processing it, it's stuff that our body can't use or won't use. So again, we eliminate that. So those, again, are our functions. Let's think about what other systems can work with that. Let's start with the number 2 right there. Not that number 2, the number 2 right here on the screen. Let's think about the interaction with the circulatory system. When you digest your food and break it down, you have to take those nutrients and deliver it to the rest of the body. So, circulatory system delivers nutrients to the rest of the body. Okay. Let's backtrack a step about taking in our food and breaking it down. You need your muscular system for that. Your muscles help to contract and therefore can break up different items. We use it with our skeletal system to chew our food. But also in right here, we have to move the food throughout the whole body. And it actually starts right here when you swallow. You have muscles on your esophagus that help to squeeze what we call the bolus down into your stomach. Then your gurgling stomach, it has 3 different layers of muscles to help squish and move the food around. And then it passes it through a long, about 22, 23 feet worth of small intestine. So again, muscles have to be able to push it through. And then you have the large intestine. So, when you have what people call the bubble guts, it's actually your muscles being able to help push some of the food. Now, when you have bubble guts, it's liquidy, not really solid like we like to pass. So again, there's your muscular system. Last but not least, how do you know you're hungry? It's the interaction with the nervous system. specifically the hypothalamus. Now, I'm not going to spell it for you right here. You'll see it down in the nervous system, one of the organs right there. But the hypothalamus helps maintain homeostasis by telling you when you're hungry. That's the part, you always thought it was just your stomach that tells you you're hungry. It sends signals to the hypothalamus that tells you, hey, let's go eat a candy bar. Okay? So those are the three interactions right there. Rather simple. Let's look at the next one, which happens to be, again, the circulatory system. The whole reason for your circulatory system is just the transport of materials. That's it. We bring things to the cells, we take things from the cells. Again, it's just all transport of materials to and from cells. Okay, so what things do we actually transport? Well, think about with the respiratory system. You breathe in oxygen, it has to be delivered to the cells. They use the oxygen in cell respiration. They produce carbon dioxide. It gets go back into the circulatory system as carbon dioxide, taken back to your lungs where you breathe it back out. Okay, so again, circulatory system is all about transport. Lungs bring it in and take it out. Then we just finished talking about the digestive system. So I won't go over that again. You just absorb the nutrients and deliver it. But we also have the excretory system. Excretory system is about elimination of waste, specifically from metabolism. So in this case, our kidneys will filter out all the waste byproducts from the blood. Again, it's not just carbon dioxide that was made. There's other waste chemicals and such that need to be taken out of our blood. So our kidneys, part of the excretory system, filter out the blood of all those nasty wastes, and it helps you pee it out later on. Then we have what's called the lymphatic. Now, most of you are probably not really familiar with the lymphatic system, but when you're sick, the doctor, will feel your armpit or will feel your neck, your throat specifically, to see if you have swollen lymph nodes. In this case, it also helps to filter things from the blood. It takes things out of the blood. So we think about this as being transported things to and from cells with your blood, like your plasma, which is that liquidy portion of the blood. A lot of it is inside your lymphatic system. Okay, and it also needs nutrients and such. Okay, so now we have the immune. I know there's lots of things to write with this one. There's like 7 different interactions here. The immune system with our white blood cells, WBCs, they have to be carried throughout the entire body to fight off infections. If not, then, again, you can possibly die. We don't need that, or you'll get sick at the very least. And then we have the nervous system. Your brain actually controls your heartbeat. Okay, so it sends signals to your heart, making sure that it's pumping properly, it's beating regularly. When you need to go faster, it sends a faster signal. When you need to go slower, it sends a slower signal. Again, it's all about homeostasis and figuring out what your body needs at that time, keeping it in balance. And then we have endocrine. Again, another one of those systems that a lot of people don't think about. But your endocrine system is the system that deals with hormones. Okay? So your circulatory system needs to take the hormones throughout the different parts of the body, like adrenaline. When you get scared, you have a sudden rush of adrenaline. It comes from the adrenal glands, which sit on top of your kidneys, and dumps a whole bunch of adrenaline throughout your circulatory system to be taken to all your muscle cells so they can get ready to respond to whatever danger happens to be there. Okay, so there is our circulatory system. Let's go on. Oh, I forgot about this one, the reproductive system. As you absorb the nutrients from the digestive system, you have to take it to the growing fetus inside, again, obviously females. So it's going to deliver nutrients to the child and remove its waste products, which again get filtered out by the kidneys, which we have, like I said, we talked about right here. Oh, hello, Olivar. right here with the excretory system. Okay, so even the reproductive system works with the circulatory system. All right, now we have the nervous system. Now, I understand I may be going too fast, but please go ahead, go back and review the video as needed. You can also find the majority of all this in our textbook. There's like 2 chapters of this just talking about different interactions right here at the end of our textbook. Okay, so our nervous system, again, we have lovely things like our brain. There's plenty of parts in the brain. Your spinal cord, nerves, neurons, nerve cells, all the good stuff, okay? And the thing I call the hypothalamus, okay? Which is, let's see, it's right in here. It's one of these lovely little colored areas. You have the hypothalamus, you have pituitary, you have a whole bunch of little things that are part of the brain, but they do other functions. Now, let's talk about the function of the nervous system. First thing, it's kind of like a computer. It has to gather and interpret information. So we have to gather information, kind of like what we talked about with homeostasis, with the thermometer and such. It gathers the information and then figures out what it needs, what to do with it. All right, so once it figures out what the information is, it then responds to that information. So it sends signals out through the nerve cells and such. And all of this helps to maintain homeostasis. Now, I do realize that all of our systems maintain homeostasis, but the nervous system is one of the main ones where it'll interact with almost every other system around to make sure everything is in balance. Again, it's the one that gathers information both inside the body and outside the body to determine whether or not you are maintaining homeostasis properly. Now, the interactions are pretty easy. It interacts with like dang near almost everything. Okay? Almost every other thing. And the majority of it is through the hypothalamus. Again, it's the hypothalamus that is going to maintain homeostasis by sending out different types of hormones. So when the brain figures out what it wants to do, it activates or stimulates the hypothalamus to release a specific hormone to interact with the systems. And again, then that's carried along with the circulatory system. Okay? Excretory system. All right, first off, you have these lovely things, these red orbs right here. These happen to be your kidneys. All right, then you'll have your bladder right here. The red and blue, those are very large arteries and veins. So again, we talked about the kidneys having to filter things. In fact, again, one of the main functions of our excretory system is that it removes waste products from cell respiration or cellular metabolism. So we're going to remove urea or uric acid. Let's see, where's my cursor here? There we go. Urea, which is the main component other than water of urine. And then we are remove excess water from our body. And in some cases, carbon dioxide and other items. Okay. We also help to filter the blood. We're going to filter the blood of these waste products, not the carbon dioxide, or at least not by the kidneys here. Okay. So we're filtering our blood to make sure we clean it. So it interacts again with the circulatory system. We just said it has to filter the blood, so the blood has to flow through here. We have to take the waste products out of the blood, again, like urea and excess water. We work with the lungs to remove the carbon dioxide waste. And your integumentary system, which your integument is a very fancy word of saying skin, right? The different layers of skin. So when you sweat, you're getting rid of excess heat, which is another waste product of cell metabolism. So we're getting rid of excess heat. You have to do that through sweat. So the water in your sweat is body temperature. As it leaves, it has a cooling effect. It takes the heat with you, or takes the heat away from you with the sweat itself. So that's your excretory system. I'm sorry about the image. It was a clear one. It would only come out like that. But let's talk about the respiratory. Okay, so your nose, even portion of your mouth, down through your trachea, your bronchi, your bronchioles, the alveoli, all the fun things. Basically, it's your mouth, your throat, and your lungs. And again, they have one really important job is they have to take in the oxygen, O2, and removes carbon dioxide. That's its one and only job, okay? And if you'll notice that sometimes when you breathe out, you also breathe out some excess water vapor too. So your lungs do have to stay somewhat moist, not damp though, or else you'll get pneumonia. Okay, so now our interactions. We've already talked about a few of them. How the circulatory system, when we breathe in the oxygen, circulatory system carries it to the cells, picks up the carbon dioxide as a waste, delivers it back to the lungs to be breathed out. Any of these interactions that we've already written down somewhere else, just say circulatory system. Like in this case, I would just put a star saying, hey, we've already talked about it, go back to the circulatory system. Again, we've talked about the excretory system again, it's all about removing waste. So the circulatory system takes the oxygen, brings back the carbon dioxide, and as an excretory organ, that carbon dioxide and some excess water vapor are removed from the body. Nervous system, again, controls breathing. You don't actually have to think about breathing, but as soon as I mention it, now you're aware of every single breath you're taking. Like that one. But you do not have to think about it. Your brain will actually control it for you. If it didn't, you would have been dead the first couple of minutes of your life because you weren't capable of thinking about breathing. So your brain takes care of that for you. And if you need to breathe faster or slower, again, it sends signals to a muscle, which we call the diaphragm, which, if you spell it phonetically, means diaphragm. Again, you'll worry about that later, but it is that small little muscle that is underneath your lungs. You can see it right here as I'm moving my cursor. It's a very thin muscle that when it contracts, it opens up more room. When it relaxes, it pushes again in here, causing you to breathe out. So the whole, and I may have that incorrect, I don't remember now, but again, it's the muscle contractions that allow you to breathe in and breathe out. Your lungs are just basically like Walmart sacks. It's the muscle right here, your diaphragm, that controls the breath. So it's being controlled, again, by the brain, signals from the brain. All right, so there's your respiratory system. Let's go to a very fun one, your skeletal system. Again, it's all about bones and cartilage and ligaments, all that good stuff. So, functions. I can't think of anybody that doesn't know these functions. One, it's got to protect your organs, right? You're protecting your brain. You're protecting your heart and your lungs. Without it, we wouldn't have much shape. We wouldn't have our basic human shape, and we wouldn't be able to support our bodies either. It'd just be a big mess of jello laying on the floor. One thing that a lot of people don't think about is that it does store some fats and minerals. Your bones are made of calcium. That's one of the main minerals that is needed by your body. That's why you're supposed to drink milk. Girls, as you get older, you have a better chance of developing what's called osteoporosis, or basically a fancy way of saying holes in your bones. It becomes like Swiss cheese, which makes them very brittle. So you have to drink more milk, or if you don't like milk, there's broccoli. There's even just vitamin supplements to help you increase the amount of calcium because it's needed by your bones. Also, your large bones, like your femur right here and your humerus, your long, large bones, produce red blood cells. Not just red blood cells, but they produce blood cells. Your blood is made by the bone marrow inside the bone. So you actually will have blood vessels running in through different sections of bones. And then, of course, your body's got to be able to move from one place to another, chew your food, reach your arm out to take your selfie, whatever it happens to be. Okay, or in this case, writing down notes whether you like to or not. So let's look at their interactions. I'll put them over here because there's no room over there. Again, we've discussed with the muscular system, we have to be able to move the body. Okay, you have to be able to move the body. With the circulatory system, we produce the blood cells. Right? So we get new blood cells from the circulatory system. Or for the circulatory system, I apologize. It even produces the white blood cells needed by the immune system. And then we have the circulatory and respiratory system. Now, when I saw this one, I thought it's like, that sounds kind of weird, but it's again about protection. Your rib cage protects your lungs and your heart to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. In which case, I guess you can technically say that it works with the nervous system too, as your cranium, your skull up here, protects the brain, and your spinal cord is being protected by vertebrae right here. So again, that's probably like a fifth interaction that we could place on there for protection. Now, your uh, nervous system really doesn't have much control over skeletal system. You can think of it almost like a non-functional unit. You know, I guess I shouldn't say that, but your brain can't tell your bones what to do. It tells the muscles what to do. Okay. So let's talk about muscles. They have quite a few of them, all the way down to small ones inside your intestines and such. And their whole function is just to move. Now, all movement is done by contraction. So when you squeeze your fist, you are contracting muscles and letting other ones relax. That way, you're not gonna pop a muscle or whatever. When you open up your fist, those first muscles that contracted will release, and other muscles will contract to pull your fingers open. So again, it's all about contraction to help move items. Okay? So when we look at the skeletal system, it's again to move your body, to move the skeleton. We looked at digestive already. We said is to allow your organs to contract to help push the food through your digestive tract. So again, I would just put a star on that one. Say, hey, go back and look at the digestive system. We've already talked about this. Respiratory system. We talked about the diaphragm, how it controls breathing when it gets signals from the brain. So again, as it contracts, you allow you to breathe in. As it relaxes, it allows you to breathe out. Unless, of course, I have those backwards. Again, I'm making the video right now. I don't have time to check it out, so I'll Google it later. Circulatory system. Your heart. Again, lots of my students used to tell me they thought the heart was the one that makes the blood. All your heart does is organ like a pump. It just pushes the blood. As it constricts or contracts, it's forcing blood out of it to be pushed around through the rest of your body. Okay? Which, again, kind of makes sense. And none of this would happen without information coming from the brain. Okay? All your muscles work kind of like on an electrical system. That way, that's why if you ever touch an electric fence or whatever, your muscles seize up really quickly. I'm not sure how many of y'all have ever been near an electric fence, but that's what happens. Don't go around taking a large metal bucket of water and pouring it over the fence. I'm not saying I've done that. I'm not saying I haven't. But again, it's all through information from the brain telling which muscles need to contract. So when you get like muscle twitches, because I'm quite sure somebody's going to ask about that, there may be a faulty signal from the brain that gives you a muscle twitch, or it might be a chemical imbalance inside your cells because the information comes from the brain and then it tells the cells, hey, release these chemicals to cause a contraction. Okay, yes, I do realize the picture that's on my screen right now, and it shows bits and pieces of nutty parts. They're cartoon. Don't worry about it. Let's talk about what the endocrine system does. It's all about hormones, including the hormones you're thinking of right now. It controls your body using hormones. Okay? Now, that being said, it's a very slow response, but it lasts a rather long time. Some of these hormones, right? So, again, as you look at the major organs on your paper, the pituitary gland I mentioned earlier, the hypothalamus I said, the thyroid, which is in your throat and the thymus, the adrenal glands happen to be right here on top of your kidneys. They produce adrenaline. You have ovaries, which produce estrogen. You have the testes, which produce testosterone. Again, they have very long-lasting effects with these chemicals. So, circulatory system, we need to transport any and all of these lovely little chemicals made by our organs here to be taken out throughout the rest of the body. Your nervous system, again, is the one that, it's your brain that tells all these lovely organs when to produce their hormone to have the desired effect. Reproductive system. Well, again, the ovaries produce estrogen, which helps to develop the female reproductive system. And then the male's testes produce testosterone. Again, it gets ready for child creation. And then we also have development of muscles, or larger muscles with the testes and all that. Okay, and then skeletal system. Okay, it's your endocrine system that will help control the growth of bones. When certain chemicals are released to the bones, it gives them the chance to grow larger. That's when you were experiencing growing pains when you were younger. Okay, so we have all those lovely systems right there, and how they work together. Okay, all right. So let's look at the next one. Again, if I'm moving fast, please just go back and review the video. You also use your textbook. It's really easy. So our immune system, okay, like your white blood cells, what we call T cells and B cells and stuff like that. Even your skin is a portion of it. Its whole job: fight off fight off foreign invaders into the body. So we want to make sure that you stay healthy. Okay, even this macrophage looks like some weird sea creature attacking you. It's actually part of your body helping you. So interactions, the easiest one. The circulatory system. It's going to transport all your white blood cells and T cells, macrophages, all those fun things. It transports it throughout the body, and when it encounters something that doesn't belong, then it starts to attack it. Your lymphatic system has plenty of white blood cells in it waiting to be worked. So again, we have lymph nodes in your armpits, there's some in your throat, even in your groin region. So when you're sick, they actually swell because they're fighting off invaders like viruses and bacteria. Then your skeletal system, which we mentioned earlier, that makes the white blood cells and other components like that. And then last but not least, it's your integumentary system. Your integument, again, is your skin. Your skin is the first line of defense against things getting in. So every time you have a cut, it has the ability to allow in invaders. So that's why it's important to keep your skin nice and healthy, so that it's nice and strong. If you have very brittle skin, then you have the better chance of getting cuts and scrapes and stuff like that that can give you possible infections. Okay, so there's your immune system to keep you healthy. Now, let's talk about the integument. It's got a lot of things. It's not just sitting there being the first line of defense. Okay, when you're hot, you have to sweat, so it helps to regulate body temperature. You're hot, it sweats to release excess heat. You're cold, you get goosebumps, which we talked about in some of our classes the other day with homeostasis. Okay, so we're to make sure that your body temperature stays relatively normal. We get rid of excess waste like urea, water, and again, I should have added heat in some cases. These are sweat glands right here. You'll notice how very close it is to your arteries and veins. This is a sweat gland that can take, and as it heats up, it allows water to be released onto the surface with that heat. And then again, when it evaporates off your skin, it has a nice cooling effect. Then we get things like the protection from ultraviolet radiation. Now, it doesn't give you great protection, but again, it's still some protection. That's when you get a tan. You're actually damaging the top layer of skin, and as the tan deepens, you get even further damage down below. So it does protect you from some ultraviolet radiation. If you get too much of it, again, it's bad. Again, we're talking about homeostasis now. Too much of it is bad because then you can develop certain forms of skin cancer, or you can even get a second-degree burn, like when you get with sorry, I'm having a hard time thinking. Anyway, so let's continue now. The last part is one that many people don't think about, is that it helps produce vitamin D, which is a very needed vitamin in the body. The only way it produces vitamin D is with exposure to sun. So again, too much exposure is bad because you don't you're going to get possible skin cancer. Not enough exposure doesn't produce enough vitamin D, which again is needed by the body. So, interactions, again, oh, hello, apparently we're putting two up there today. We have the excretory system, how it removes excess cellular waste, like we saw in item number 3 right there. As part of the immune system, it's preventing pathogens from entering. So it's making it so that things can't enter into the body, hopefully. And then your nervous system is what gives you temperature control with goosebumps and sweating. Okay? So that is your integument system. My integument system is slightly different because on my head, I don't have any more of these. This is a hair. This is the hair follicle. This is the oil gland. My oil glands work very well on my head. It gets oily sometimes. But my hair follicle no longer produces hair. Very, very sad. Very much upset with genetics. Me and my beautiful mullet will never be seen again. Anyway, let's go on to the next part. We got the lymphatic system. Okay? So, lymphatic system we kind of mentioned earlier, with your lymph nodes and all that. If you look at the image, it looks very similar to what we've seen with like a circulatory system. It's all over the body. All right? So, again, one of the first things we've already discussed, it will store and carry white blood cells. That's what WC is, the white blood cell. So it holds excess white blood cells getting ready to combat disease. We also, as a lymphatic system, collect excess fluids from different cells and part of the body and return it back to the blood. All right, so when you drink water, it can go into the lymphatic system and then it can get into your circulatory system where it's needed. So you can think of this as kind of like a second circulatory system. This one's actually able to get between cells. All right, it can absorb water and other nutrients from between cells, and then it can deliver that into our circulatory system. Again, immune system with the whole white blood cells. It holds excess white blood cells, get ready for disease. Circulatory system, it will transport materials into and from cells. So you always thought it was just the circulatory system. It has to take it and pass it to the lymphatic system, which will then take it to the cells individually. So again, the loss of one greatly affects all the rest of them here. Okay? By the way, we're one and done. We just have to worry about the most controversial one where you guys all start giggling like little kids when we talk about the reproductive system. Okay? The whole reason for the reproductive system is to reproduce to hopefully prevent your species from being extinct. Okay? That is the purpose of the reproductive system. To pass on your genes from one generation to the next, make them better hopefully than you were, and possibly eliminate the possibility of extinction. Okay? So, it works with the endocrine system. Okay, again, they produce, the testes and the ovaries produce different hormones. Again, the testes produce testosterone. The ovaries produce estrogen. So that gives you some of your male and female characteristics. With your muscular system, reproductive works here because the uterus, as we demonstrated with our homeostasis demonstration the other day, the uterus is a very large sac of muscles. And in order for the baby to be birthed, it has to squeeze it. So now, again, the baby was growing and developing within the uterus, and now we have to squeeze the baby out by muscle contractions. And that, again, is all controlled by hormones. And then I had to add this again because in order for the baby to grow and develop, we need nutrients brought by the circulatory system. Even the hormones that are developed by these two main organs, they also have to be transported through the circulatory system to the rest of the body to be used as needed. Okay, so I know this has been a lot of information. We're going to do a couple of activities to help with it, to help you understand this, okay, a little bit better. But again, that's a lot of common sense. If you're going to breathe in, it's about movement. Muscles do movement. When we breathe in, it brings oxygen. You have to think about, oh yeah, it's needed by cell respiration, so I need to bring it to the cell, so therefore I have to transport it through the blood. Again, a lot of these things are very simplistically easy if you just take the time to sit and think about it. Okay? So, I will end this here, and I will bid you good day.